Welcome to this week's podcast, and this is the last time ever that we will be in this fine studio. We've been in here and out of here over the pandemic, but for those of you watching on YouTube and not listening and have no idea what I'm talking about, this is our sort of digital studio here at ITV News. We're all being shipped out of here soon, aren't we?
We're having a refurb, and so we won't be able to use this anymore, so I'm not quite sure where we'll be. But
if you're a fan of those funny sort of orange and blue squares behind us, you take a picture now, take a screen grab now, and it's all going to change. I don't actually quite know what we're doing once they rip the studio out. Is there a plan? Probably not.
I'm not sure. Yeah,
right, okay.
Not sure.
Well, the podcast, your weekly podcast from ITV News, will still be here in some form. It's just a slightly different form for a period of time. So we will bring you news on that when we have it. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And we are talking this week, well, we talk every week about the royal family, but we...
I would be in the wrong place if we weren't about to talk about the royal family.
Quite. There are members of the royal family about which we can talk. Prince Andrew was a very interesting one this week, wasn't it? We were up in York, the fine city of York. If you're from this country, you'll probably know what a great place that is. Once the Vikings invaded, and
it's a really beautiful city. So we went there for the day for a council vote, didn't we? We wouldn't normally cover council votes on this brief.
It's a long time since, as a journalist, I've covered a local council meeting.
Yep.
But here we are.
Here we are.
Yes. Not everything is progress. Like yesterday, we were live from a local council meeting on the program yesterday.
Yeah. The vote happened just as we were. When we were on air.
We've got that. We've got Camilla taking over from Meghan. Remember those National Theatre pictures a little while ago when Meghan sort of was in the royal family? How times change. And was made the patron of the National Theatre by the Queen. Well, obviously she had that taken away and it's been given to Camilla. She did her first visit there this week. Prince Louis has turned 4.
This is sort of a version of the 4.
Not
4.
5. 4.
4. Seems a long time ago that we were standing outside the Linde wing.
Do you know what? We won't bang on about this refit too much, but I had to clear out my desk, which has got just pointless notes and things. I found this little booklet in there. Do you remember those little booklets we got given for the birth of Prince Louis? And it was it was a tiny little sort of bound booklet, kind of about that size.
Yeah, with all the details about him.
Details of what was going to happen
and who, where he fitted in, and who he was related to, and all. Yes.
Now, other things went in the bin, but I kept hold of that one.
Yeah, I think that's...
For some reason, I don't know why I did.
That's
but
a nice one to keep.
There we go. That was 4 years ago.
Gosh, I'd
4 and a bit
about
years ago, of course.
Yeah.
And we've had details of one of the Jubilee pageants. So if you think about this Jubilee weekend, which is coming up, in the UK we call it a bank holiday. Elsewhere you might know it as a public holiday. There's 4 days of celebration for the Queen, a Thursday, Friday, a Saturday, a Sunday at the beginning of June. And we've had details about what's happening on the Sunday, which is a very long pageant, by all accounts.
Yeah, we brought you the Epsom Derby details last week, I think. Yep. And this week we have lots and lots of details about the pageant, which is sort of the finale of the weekend celebration.
If you wanted a quick run through, Thursday, Trooping of the Colour. Friday, there's a Thanksgiving service at St Paul's Cathedral. Saturday, there is the Epsom Derby and a concert in the evening in Buckingham Palace. Keeping the Queen awake if she's staying there, but we think she probably won't. And then Sunday is this Jubilee pageant and some big Commonwealth lunchy thing.
The big lunch, and people being encouraged across the country to have street parties and to celebrate. So
there's the overview of what we're talking about this week. Pageant, Louis, Queen, Andrew, Camilla. Let's start with the Queen. We just had some new pictures of the Queen. So if you're watching on YouTube, you'll sit look at these pictures and probably, like we just did, say, doesn't she look well? Doesn't she look well?
She's been at Sandringham. I think we spoke last week that she'd gone to Sandringham for her birthday, her 96th birthday. She spent at Wood Farm, which is where Prince Philip spent the majority of his retirement.
There were some pictures of her there, weren't there? But we can't show
There were her
kind of pap pictures.
Her driving. I suspect she was driving to this stud to see the horses, which is one of her favourite things to do when she's there.
It looked like the little break that she had in Sandringham has done her well.
So she's back. She came back earlier this week and she was holding an audience today with the President of Switzerland. And I thought, like you say, she looks really well, which is great to see. Obviously, we know recently she's been having some issues with her mobility and has looked frailer, we've said, haven't we? So
definitely. I mean, look at that picture of her There, I mean, I think I'm looking at a picture, and if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be seeing right now a picture of the Queen with her hands behind her back, smiling. But I mean, look at that. I mean, she looks very well, doesn't she?
Looks very well, yes.
96 and all the rest of it. And she went away to Sandringham for her 96th birthday. I mean, how many people can say I've had 96 birthdays?
Yeah.
I mean,
not only to be 96, but also to still be working. I think we say this every week. I mean, she is conducting audiences. She's working. It's remarkable.
Yeah, working less hard than perhaps she did, but given that most people retire at 65 or 66, she's 30 years beyond that and still doing a job. So that's what happens when you have a hereditary monarchy. The kind of does what it says on the tin.
The one thing
got the job until you don't anymore.
There's one thing in the diary that we're not sure about yet. That is the state opening of Parliament. We've spoken before on this podcast about how the Queen's attendance at events is unlikely to be confirmed until the day, and that the state opening of Parliament.
I put this in my diary when it was going to be. Did you do 10th? State opening of Parliament, yeah, 10th of May. So Tuesday the 10th of May is the state opening of Parliament. If basically it marks the beginning of a new legislative season. And traditionally the Queen gives a speech. The speech is actually written by her government. It's actually not her words, it's the Prime Minister's words. But the Queen reads out the Queen's speech at the state opening of Parliament. Hasn't missed it in a very, very, very long time.
She's only missed it twice in her reign. And
was that for tours or pregnancy?
Pregnancy, yeah.
Right.
A long time ago. We've seen previously she's been accompanied by the Prince of Wales.
And last year she did it with Prince of Wales and Camilla, and it was the first event. I think it was the first thing she did after the Duke of Edinburgh died, wasn't it?
Yeah. So if she's unable to carry out the state opening of Parliament, we would expect to see the Prince of Wales.
Well, of course,
stand in.
And then we've got a look into the future.
Yeah.
We've got the Prince of Wales for the first time, and he's done a lot of first times recently, like he did the Royal Maundy service before Easter for the first time. And you will have a glimpse into the future because you will have the future King and the future Queen consort doing the state opening of Parliament, and that will be quite a moment if that were to happen.
Well, it's, like you say, we've seen lots of these moments. The Royal Maundy service, the cenotaph. He now lays the wreath on behalf of his mother. He's the most senior member of the royal family that's travelling.
Oh yes, Canada. Let me write Canada down because we had a briefing on Canada, didn't we? So we can tell you about that.
We did.
So the Queen's back in Windsor. She's had her 96th birthday, looking well, and been to Sandringham, and that's it, really, isn't it, on Queen?
That's it.
Yes. Fine. I think we should do Prince Andrew next. Why am I laughing? Because this story keeps going on and on and on, isn't it? Let's start at the beginning with the legals. Prince Andrew always denied the allegations made against him by his accuser, Virginia Giuffre. She accused him of being trafficked to him for sex. He settled with her in that out-of-court settlement, paid many, many millions of pounds to her to settle out of court with no admission of liability whatsoever. But in York this week, the councillors decided, here is a guy, Prince Andrew, the Duke of York. He was also given in 1987 the freedom of the city of York.
Yep.
Now, should we start off with the pictures of 1987? Because we saw them yesterday. Have a look at these pictures that we got from our colleagues at Yorkshire TV, YTV or Calendar, which is that part of the UK where they cover. They gave us these pictures of the Duke of York receiving his freedom of the city of York with the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, Fergie. I mean, how times change. Here you've got crowds of people. Someone said 200,000.
I read 200,000 somewhere.
Crowds of people turning up to cheer and greet and shake hands with the Duke of York.
Yeah, and we were told yesterday by the councillor Darryl Smalley, who led this motion, that the freedom of the city of York was one of the highest honours they could bestow on somebody, and they're very proud of it in York, and they want to be able to give freedom of the city to people that they are proud of. And it's fair to say that he and the other councillors no longer feel that way about Prince Andrew. They voted unanimously yesterday, bar two people who abstained.
Should we share our knowledge of local government? There were 47 councillors, weren't there, on York Council. You need to know this, bear with us, and therefore you needed 23 and a half of them, or say 24, in order to get a simple majority. What actually happened was every single councillor, bar 2 who abstained, voted in favour of this motion to strip the Duke of York of his freedom of the city.
So in reality, this means nothing. It's a sort of honorary title, but it's
Somebody said to me he can no longer take his cattle through the middle of the city for free.
So it means nothing in this day and age.
Well,
but it is just another example.
Do you know that Prince Andrew didn't take his cattle through the city every day?
It's just another example of Prince Andrew, people or organisations not wanting to be associated with Prince Andrew. Lots of charities have disassociated themselves with him. He was stripped of his military affiliations. He lost his royal patronages. And here is another example of a city wanting to distance themselves from him.
Now, to give you an example of what they think in the city, we spoke to some people in the beautiful medieval streets of York, bar one building, which I put on Twitter yesterday, which I really didn't like, a nasty 1960s building plonked in the middle of that beautiful city. But anyway, that's a side issue. Have a listen to what some of the people in York thought about Prince Andrew having the freedom of the city stripped from him.
I can't see how he can legitimately kind of have that title.
You can talk to anybody like most people, I'll say the same.
Right. And not just the freedom of the city, but get rid of the dukedom as well. Yeah. Right, okay.
Everything.
It's nothing to do with the city, and I don't really think the people here would want anything to do with him.
Yeah, and actually you think it's time to sort of sever the link.
Yeah, move on, yeah.
So as we wandered around the beautiful city of York, we came across this little radio station. It's called Y01, which must be after the postcode, isn't it? Y01?
Yeah,
yes,
I think
Y01
so.
York is a Y01 Radio. And so we knocked on the window, because it literally is a window on the street, isn't it?
Yeah, so you can see them recording as you walk past.
And there was Wayne, the sort of managing director inside there, and Dave was the head of news. So we sort of popped in and we decided to have a chat about, what feedback have they been getting from the people of York? They very kindly invited me in to take part in a discussion on their show.
Unexpectedly.
I hope the people or the listeners of Y01 Radio enjoyed that conversation. But this is what the radio presenters said to us yesterday about the whole Prince Andrew matter.
We've had a lot of people phoning up, contacting us about this, and, people are not in favour of him retaining the freedom of the city.
Whether having him in that position at the moment actually devalues the position for the other people who hold the freedom of the city as well.
And thanks for them to, actually they put us up on their Twitter and Instagram account of us having our little conversation. Jake, the cameraman, if you can see from this picture on Y01, I think I put it on my own Twitter as well. Jake, our cameraman for the day, was in there as well. So thank you to them for having us on their show. But it gives you a flavour of what people think, because actually it's not just Prince Andrew who's got the freedom of the city. Some very other important people, Winston Churchill being one, Dame Judi Dench being another. And I think the view was, as you heard expressed there, was that it does demean the honour for those people if Prince Andrew were to have kept his, which he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, it's something that they are really proud of to be able to bestow on people, and it's regarded, very highly. And, I thought what was interesting when you were talking to the radio station was they were saying that they don't normally get lots of callers on one subject. They said, but this has really triggered people, and they've had a lot of people calling in. And for most people, the majority of people that are calling the station, they didn't want him to keep the honour. And I think a local paper did a poll, didn't they? And it came back as something like 88%.
Yeah. I'm surprised it was that low, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Who were the 15% who thought he should keep it, I wonder. So the motion at the council was put forward by a chap called Darryl Smalley. He's a councillor for York City Council, and this is how he explained why they have taken this decision.
It's trying to distance our city from Prince Andrew and those serious allegations against him.
Now it's York City's turn to...
Precisely, and we're not taking this decision lightly. It's the first time in York's history we're removing the honorary freedom, but it's our greatest honour. It's the greatest thing we can bestow on residents and other dignitaries.
So all well and good, you no longer have the freedom of the city, but the big point here is he's still called the Duke of York. And actually, I suppose one thing that I didn't know, and I probably would have thought yesterday, if you asked me yesterday morning, I would have said, oh, the Queen can give a title and she can remove it. The Sussexes and the Yorks. Not true. You can give a title, but you cannot remove it, which is why MPs are looking at changing the law at the moment.
Yeah, there are now calls for this to go further and for him not to just lose the freedom of the city, but for him to be completely disassociated with York altogether and lose the dukedom. It was bestowed on him for his wedding as a gift from his mother. Like you say, the Sussexes and the Cambridges, they got they became Duke and Duchess.
Similar, if you want to, I don't know, for whatever reason in the future, want to take the Cambridges off the Cambridge, you can't do it. And if you want to take the Sussexes off the Sussexes, you can't do it.
Nope.
So I didn't know that. Someone who did know it was the MP for York Central, who's called Rachel Maskell, and she is now working in Parliament to try and change the law. But have a listen to this interesting point that she will make in this, is that when you're in Parliament, because obviously you are the servants of the Queen, and the Queen sits at the top of the United Kingdom Constitution, you can't discuss the royal family or the Queen. So quite how they're going to change the law, I don't actually know. But anyway, have a listen.
Well, currently the monarch doesn't have the powers to remove a title, and that's why we're going to have to look to Parliament to be able to put legislation in place to remove the title.
So did Prince Andrew's office have anything to say about this whole thing?
No comment.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all. No.
Hello, Prince Andrew's office. Would you care to respond to the decision taken in York today? No, we would not.
But not just us, actually. We were told that when this motion was put forward, the council did inform Prince Andrew's office, and they haven't heard back either.
No, there we are. So Prince Andrew no longer has the freedom of the city of York. He can no longer take his cattle through the streets of York for free, through the gates of that medieval walled city. If any good were to come of this, then I suggest you go to York and see it. It's a fantastic place. Go and see York Minster. Go and walk the city walls. It is really a fine city.
It was full of tourists, actually, wasn't it? We actually found it quite tricky finding people from York to talk to about York, but we managed in the end.
The place we found them was outside the fishman's shop, or the fishmonger, because obviously if you're buying fish, you're probably not a tourist.
Yes.
Not that tourists don't buy fish. But
no, but you don't buy fish if you're...
Yeah, if you're on a day out. Oh,
no.
Get some haddock to take home tonight.
No.
Or some bream.
But one question that still remains, and this is going to segue into the next section.
Okay. I like segues.
What will he do for the Platinum Jubilee?
What will he do for the Platinum Jubilee? I'll tell you what he might do. I'll tell you what he probably would want to do. Was to stand on one of the floats in the Jubilee pageant and wave at everybody from...
I think, or the balcony.
1950 something must be, isn't it? He was a 50s kid.
Yeah.
So that, we'll talk about the Platinum Jubilee now. There's going to be lots of like buses for different decades of the 7 decades of the Queen's reign. So maybe Prince Andrew could stand on top of one of those buses and wave at everybody.
I think he'd rather be on the balcony with the rest of his family.
But
will there be members of the royal family on the balcony for the final day? That's also a question mark.
Well, will there be any members of the royal family on the balcony, and will the Queen be there? So I think if we have a stab at answering those questions, I would say yes to members of the royal family, no to the Queen, no to Prince Andrew, and I'm kind of probably leaning no to the Sussexes now. You think yes, don't you?
I think if I was to lean one way on the Sussexes, I think it was more likely that they would be here than not. Yeah. But they are still undecided. I should make clear. But we also don't know. It's the balcony moment. We're expecting one for trooping on the Thursday.
Yeah.
We think there'll be a finale moment for the pageant as well, don't we?
Yeah, but I mean, I think the balcony moment it is about the royal family, as in the core of the royal family. And when we say royal family, yes, Harry's kind of in it because he's still the Queen's grandchild and he still has the Queen's great-grandchildren, even though one of them has never met the Queen. But actually, if you're going to be on the balcony, you want to say these are the working members. These are the people who put in the hard yards on behalf of the monarchy. So I would say no to a Harry and Meghan on the balcony.
No, I
don't think it would go down very well in British public opinion.
But do I think they'll come over? They have said that they're still undecided, but I think I would probably, if I was betting lean more to yes than no.
Yeah.
But you know, Prince Andrew could go with.
Prince Andrew went to the Thanksgiving service for Prince Philip, didn't he? So anything could happen.
And he could well go to the service of Thanksgiving at St Paul's. He could well go to Derby Day. Those moments he could go to. But anyway, we have some pageant
Unless the
details.
Queen got the message loud and clear about Andrew from the Thanksgiving, that it totally distracted from, I mean, that's my view, it totally distracted from Prince Philip's Thanksgiving service, because it did. We were talking about two things. One, that the Queen was able to go, and two, that Prince Andrew was there. When actually what we should have been talking about was, one, the Queen was able to go, and two, she was paying tribute to her late husband. But so I think if he turns up at anything, it's going to distract it. And I think if Harry and Meghan turn up at anything, they're going to distract it, like it or not. That's my view. Anyway, pageant details.
Pageant, we've got so many details. So the pageant will be on the Sunday, the June the 5th. It's the finale of the Jubilee celebrations, and the route the pageant will take is from Westminster Abbey to Buckingham Palace, following the route from 1953 on the Queen's coronation day. I can see you watching what's going on behind me, which is people clearing out the office, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's really
it's more clearing out things, but also there are kind of people there that I'm thinking, oh no, they need to talk to me about X, or they need to talk to me about Y. But while I'm in this studio,
if I wasn't finding that distracting, you watching them was even more distracting.
It's fine. No, I was just letting you talk about the pageant. I was just basically letting you take over this part of the show.
Anyway, I've got some numbers.
Go on, do some numbers.
So involved in the pageant, there'll be
window.
10,000 people involved, including 2,750 military personnel, 6,000 volunteers, performers and key workers, and 2,500 members of the public. It will include a giant hot air balloon, towering dragons, 3-storey high figures, 500 vintage cars and motorbikes,
some James Bond cars will be in there. Yes.
Open top double-decker buses. There'll be
and Alan Titchmarsh.
The double-decker buses will be resemble the different decades of the Queen's reign, and they will have on
which is why I said Prince Andrew will be on one of them.
They'll have on them famous faces, including Gary Lineker, Sir Cliff Richard, Bill Bailey, Alan Titchmarsh, Basil Brush.
Yeah, there was this whole thing about reviving Basil Brush. Was Basil Brush around when you were small?
I don't
really.
No,
I remember Basil Brush from the 70s.
No.
I mean, I have slightly more advancing years than you, but
slightly.
Basil Brush was just like some bonkers puppet.
Oh, I think he still is.
Which is kind of fine in the 70s and 80s, but kind of, I don't know, why is Basil Brush having a revival?
Good question. Anyway, there will also be a huge wireframe structure of the Queen, corgi puppets. I mean, this thing is going to be quite spectacular.
Yes, there was some tribute to the Queen, and basically the things that have sustained her through the years, and they said corgis and horses.
Yeah, and it will fall into 4 sections, this pageant. The first is Queen and Country, the second is Time of Our Lives, the third is Let's Celebrate, and the fourth is Happy and Glorious.
Oh, Happy and Glorious is the Ed Sheeran bit. Yes.
Yeah, so it finishes, the sort of the finale of the pageant finishes outside Buckingham Palace, and Ed Sheeran will lead a sort of national moment, and there'll be, I think they said 100 national treasures there. So quite something.
You're the Sunday act, if you like. You're kind of the finale of the Jubilee weekend. No pressure, of course.
And I want it to be. Hey, listen, a 70-year celebration just doesn't come around, well, any time. We haven't had one in history. So, we want it to be big. We want it to be the biggest, the most magnificent, the most wonderful event. We want to make people proud on that day.
And I also thought that it's going to be quite a spectacle. Are we allowed to run the video that they showed us in the press conference of the float, as long as we credit it?
Yeah, I think so, as long as we credit it.
So have a look at this articulated lorry, HGV or truck, whatever you want to call it, going around an aircraft carrier at an airfield in Bristol somewhere, with people bouncing up and down and bikes jumping from car to car.
Sort of trampolines on it, isn't it?
Yeah, and this was just one of many, many, many floats. In fact, they said one of the what do you call it, floats or exhibitions or convoys, or what word did we come up with the other day? Displays is going to be 2.5 kilometres long and will take 50 minutes to pass. So if you're the camera and the float, the display is passing in front of you, 50 minutes to get through. So the whole thing is quite huge, isn't it?
And if you want to go and watch any of the public Jubilee celebrations, there will be details announced in due course about how you can do that.
And I suppose one of the things, and again, we spoke about looking back and looking forward when we went on the Cambridge tour and all the rest of it. Now, a Jubilee is a moment to celebrate the Queen's 70 years of reign, but it's also got to look forward. It's got to represent Britain in 2022, not the Britain that was in 1952, which was a very, very different place. And that was something we spoke to some of the performers about how this pageant is going to represent Britain of today, not Britain of yesterday.
Oh, definitely the pageant will showcase that completely. That diverse, the community, the celebration, everything together.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's important to do that, isn't it?
So
Definitely.
important.
We've shown how the country's evolved. There's so many differences now than there was in the 1950s, but there's such a power and a strength in our differences, and that's what puts us together and makes us stronger.
Now, the pageant will be very theatrical.
Yeah.
And
I thought
so
you were going
was the National Theatre.
So was National Theatre. I thought you were going to say that it would be very centred around family and you'd trot off towards Prince Louis. But OK, we can go to the theatre.
I was looking for a segue, basically. So the pageant will be theatrical and a performance will be going on. Now, the National Theatre, what is the National Theatre? Is it the National Theatre, as the name suggests? I mean, how do we describe the National Theatre? It's on the banks of the River Thames in London.
It is, yes.
It's on one of those, I have to say, not my favourite kind of building, 1950s concrete buildings. But we went there when the Duchess of Sussex went there because she was made the patron.
She was made the patron.
And would have gone again this week had we not trotted up to York for Prince Andrew.
Yes, we were going to go. So Meghan was given the patronage from the Queen. I think the Queen had held it for something like 45 years.
Here, Megs, have this.
It was given to Meghan. Of course, it sort of fitted in with Meghan's past work. She used to
be an actor.
She used to be an actor.
Right.
She'd been in Suits, so it sort of fitted quite well. But obviously, when she stepped back as a working member of the royal family, she lost those royal patronages.
Yes, the ones the Queen gave her. And the Queen's now given it to her daughter-in-law, Camilla, the future Queen consort, which we keep reminding ourselves. And
Camilla... Camilla is hugely passionate about the arts, literacy, so this is quite a good fit for her, I think.
Yes, exactly. So, so she now holds that that title, and she will be the ambassador, if you like, for the National Theatre.
She will, and there were some great pictures. She went up on stage, and they were talking her through to her about a performance that's going to be taking place at the National Theatre, and there is some plate throwing going on with some prop plates, I suppose.
Someone who would like some plate smashing, because I think all children do, Prince Louis. Did he smash any plates at his birthday? Possibly. But,
possibly, who knows?
But 4 years old. Now, the pictures of Prince Louis, have a guess who they were taken by?
Have a guess. You know what? She takes some great pictures of the kids, and they always look, happy and relaxed in a way that, I think if they were being taken by somebody the children didn't know, you're never going to get the best out of them, and she does really get the best out of them, and I think the photos were great.
Yes, they were. So they were taken on the beach in Norfolk somewhere. So have a look at these photos. These are courtesy of the Duchess of Cambridge, released for his 4th birthday, which was on... Is he the one that born on St George's Day? 23rd of April?
Yeah.
Yes? There we go. It's not George born on St George's Day, it's Louis born on St George's Day. When's George's birthday? It's coming up, isn't it?
Gosh, we've got Charlotte's on Saturday.
Charlotte's. And George's, it's this time of year, isn't it?
Yes, not
they
far
have
off.
Summer babies, these Cambridges, not winter babies. So yes, taken on a beach somewhere in Norfolk, courtesy of Kate. So, I mean, lovely photos.
I thought there was one actually where Prince Louis, he's running at the camera. They look like they're playing a game of cricket actually, because you can see he's holding a cricket ball in one of the pictures. The photo where he's running towards the camera, I thought he looked just like Prince William when he was little.
Yes. I know a lot of people said to me on my social media commentary, or the ones that I saw, was that he looked the spit of Michael Middleton.
Yeah, people often say he looks just like Michael Middleton, but there was that one picture where he was running, I thought he looked just like Prince William.
Yeah. Now, if you're watching this podcast or listening to this podcast in the fine realm of Canada, then we will be coming to see you soon, because we will be travelling with Prince Charles and Camilla to that wonderful country and clocking up A few miles.
Clocking up a few miles. They're really going to be travelling around, aren't they? They're there, and they're there on quite a short period of time.
So, if you think of Tuesday being kind of one day, and you think of Friday being 3 days later, kind of is, isn't it? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So in that time, they are flying from the UK to Newfoundland and Labrador, then they're going down to Ottawa, and then they're going up to Yellowknife, up in the Northwestern Territories, to see the Ice Road, and then going back to the UK by Friday morning.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Travelling in a short space of time. I can't wait to see it. We've been to bits of Canada. We've been to Ottawa before, haven't we?
Yeah.
And we have seen Iqaluit up in Nunavut.
Nunavut, I think. Yep. I
remember going to the Canadian High Commission once. We had a very long discussion about some of the treats that they make of traditional.
Oh yeah, we did.
Canadian treat. It was like a tiffin or something like that.
I can't remember what it was called.
I must dig that out.
Yes, we did.
Anyone in Canada who knows what that's called, please tell me. It was a fine, sweet treat.
I'm just being slightly careful because I don't want to give too much away because I don't think we can talk about it. But we will be going, and
well, a lot of that thing they told us the other day was on the record, wasn't it? About like going to Newfoundland and some
You're looking at me like
people that they will meet, and some of the issues they will talk about. Some of them very serious. Obviously, there's been a very big issue in Canada with residential schools. In Ottawa, they've got like a whole day there, haven't they? And in the surrounding areas, and then up in Yellowknife, all this ice road that's basically melting earlier and earlier every year and having to be closed earlier and earlier every year because of global warming. And they said in the briefing that the temperatures in Yellowknife, up in the Northwestern Territories, are rising at something like 3 times faster than the average for everywhere else.
Yeah, the global average.
So it's something it's a big problem.
And this is something that, obviously the Prince of Wales in his environmental work is deeply concerned about. He's done a lot of work around this issue, and this is a chance for him to see with his own eyes the effects of climate change, rather than to just, he talks about it a lot, he's seen a lot, but this is another opportunity for him to see some of the challenges faced in Canada.
Yes, absolutely. So we are very much looking forward to going to Canada. Maybe we'll even see some of you there. But it's a fantastic country, and we look forward to visiting it again. Yep. So, and it will be rather cold, one imagines, up at the Ice Road, even though it's May. Does it ever get warm in the Northwestern Territories? Surely can't.
Well,
not that warm.
Not
warm enough. But do you remember that time we were in Iqaluit, and I think it was the same kind of time of year, and it was still quite.
We were very new to the job then, weren't we?
Yes.
That was on our first tours.
It was perhaps the first.
Possibly.
Potentially. Anyway, we digress. So we're gonna before they start lifting out the sofas and unplugging the wires and taking down the glass, and I don't know what they're going to do with those stickers on that glass behind us, but yeah, it all gets taken out and removed, and we will find another way of doing this podcast next week, because we like to deliver it to you every week. And on the weeks that we don't deliver it, some people do say to us, "Where was the podcast this week?"
Which is nice.
Still surprises
it's nice
me,
to hear.
It
Yes,
still
it's very
surprises
nice
me when people say to me, "Oh, we really missed your podcast," which obviously shows that some people quite like it.
Which is lovely to hear.
Thank
you very much.
See you next week. From wherever we'll be, we'll see you in some form next week.